The power of the Akashic records and trusting your healing and spiritual gifts and abilities. Today, I'm so excited to bring on my friend Suzi, who is a powerful Akashic records reader, and share with you more about the Akashic records and tapping into them. I also want to share my story around having a reading with her. Oh my gosh, this was like almost 4 years ago. Insane. So she's on here. I'm going to go ahead and bring her on and we will dive in. Oh, Susie, let's see. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Hi. How are you?
I am okay, although I almost had a heart attack when you said 2021. I was like, was it really 2021? Do you know, time has just gone fast. I was like, where has that time gone? So good to see you.
I know, it's good to see you too. 2021 is actually insane because I was thinking about this last night too. I was like, you, Andrea, and I all connected. I want to say like early 2021. And I remember standing in the park and having a conversation with you on IG and just learning more about the Akashic records. And it's like, time is not even real.
No, it definitely isn't. And that just goes to prove it. I was like, it can't possibly have been 4 years ago that we had that session.
Oh, so much has changed and evolved since then. It's wild.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. Is my audio okay for you? I've got mini mic on, so I'm hoping that it's doing its thing.
Yeah, it's okay right now. It's a little echoey every now and then, but if you guys are hearing like any feedback or anything, just let us know and we can adjust.
Is it any better if I actually hold mini mic?
Actually, yes. I love it. We see people on like TikTok and stuff. Me. I love it.
I think it's because it bounces as I move around. I think it bounces, but I can't do it without a mic because if I have no mic, then all you get is like crackling and interference. It's all.
Oh, so weird. So bizarre. So, yeah, for anybody that's in my realm, if you want to take a moment and just introduce yourself and share a little bit about you, spiritual, personal, any of it, and then we can kind of just dive in from there.
Yeah, of course. So, my name is Suzi. Okay, I am an Akashic Records. My title I give myself is an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. And all that means is I teach people how to work with the Akashic Records, all levels. And I use the Akashic Records in my practice, helping clients. So that's all that means. I have been on my spiritual journey for a very long time. So I have had quite an interesting spiritual journey, I would say, throughout my life. But I won't bore you all with a life story today because we want to talk about the good stuff, which is the Akashic Record. But I've been on my spiritual journey for a very long time. I always try to, you know, one of my soul's missions in this lifetime is to help people be empowered, help people remember their power, help people remember who they are, get into alignment to who they came here to be, because I see so many people who are so talented and have all these amazing gifts and so much potential, and they hold themselves back. So that's my mission, and I use the Akashic Records to help people do that. I have a podcast as well, the Wisdom from the Akashic podcast. Give myself a little selfish plug there. But I love making the podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do. I just kind of sit and talk about different types of esoteric topics on a whole host of different things. So if you like podcasts, go check that out. New episodes every week. So it's a good, fun place. And I have a place as well on my website where you can submit your questions. So last week, and answering one of the listeners' questions, which was really good fun to do.
I love that. So I will definitely link all the things in I almost said the show notes because this is going on my podcast as well, Sacred Whisper. But if you're watching with us live, it'll be in IG caption. I'm like, where are we? I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. I got so like, I almost started crying when you said your soul mission purpose. And I was like, all of a sudden, and then I got chills. And I'm like, all of a sudden, it just made so much sense when we connected when we did, because I feel like our missions, like we might have had a little bit of clarity on our mission, but the coinciding of it, mine just looks different because I do it through like subconscious reprogramming, energetics mastery, and quantum illumination Reiki, which is like the doors open. We'll talk about that from the Akashic records. But yeah, it's like there's so many amazing souls out there that it's like, let me help you see your light and put you back into your power, that soul remembrance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what the Akashic Records are all about. It's all about, getting that objective soul level perspective so that you can align to it. A lot of the time people have, so much programming, so much conditioning, so many limiting beliefs. They can't see the wood for the trees, you know? And it's a case of being able to zoom out and have that perspective and have the support from the guides in the Akashic Records. It just helps them, really get to know themselves at that deeper level. And I think there are so many amazing different modalities that are out there that they all complement each other. They all work with each other. And I think, the more that we can help more people step into their power, align to who they are, the better the world will be. It will be a much better place for us all.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like you're absolutely right with the like all of the different healing modalities. There's so many being birth earth side, I've noticed even in the last like couple of years. And then the harmonization of them and the intertwining of them as everybody's trusting their own souls to do the healing in the way that's aligned for them. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because different things are going to work for different things, and different
Yeah.
modalities are needed depending upon where you're at in your journey. And, as you well know, healing isn't this linear process, it's a spiral. So there are going to be times where you go back to certain issues and you may go back to different modalities, and a modality that helped before might not be quite what you need this time. And one of the things that I find really interesting with the new modalities that are coming through is I know, I think it was sort of summertime last year when I was, I always do my 20 to 25 or the next year in the summer before I have the conversation with the Akashic Records. And one of the things that they were saying was that a lot of people have new modalities, they have ancient wisdom within them, which can then be merged with these new modalities to bring new things forward. It's like birthing the new. But of course, if you're bogged down with limiting beliefs and conditioning and you don't know your own value and your own worth, you're not going to be able to step forward with that. So what I find is a lot of people will come to me, they'll have gone down a traditional route like Reiki, and there's nothing wrong with that. But actually, what they're doing is so much more than that. They're actually birthing through a new modality, but they don't have the words for it because, of course, it's something new that's being birthed through them. And
Yeah.
I find all of that really exciting because this means that there's this merging of the ancient wisdom that people have within them and the new techniques and modalities that are needed for people going forward. But what it requires is it requires people to step forward and own that and say, okay, this is actually what I'm doing. I'm not just doing Reiki. I'm not saying that in a derogatory way to Reiki. I'm saying that as we go through this evolution and this expansion in consciousness, of course, there are going to be new things that are birthed forward and birthed through to help the next generations and to help the next level of expansion of consciousness.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because even like when I talk about quantum illumination, I'm like, it's not that it's better. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It doesn't mean, it's not about comparison. It's just facts are facts as the consciousness continues to raise, as humanity continues to awaken and ascend, it's going to require higher and higher frequencies. And comes all of these amazing souls that are here to help the evolution of human race. I think it's so amazing. And like, yeah. Okay. So what drew you to the Akashic Records?
The Akashic Records found me. Absolutely.
Mm.
I was not looking for them. And this is true of everybody who ever comes across the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records start to come into your awareness. And you start to hear about them and you start to, they pop up everywhere. And what I actually found is when they came into my awareness that I'd actually been working with them personally for many years. I've been a big meditator for a very long time. And I thought it was normal practice that when you went into meditation, you went to this realm, you asked questions, you got answers. I thought that was normal. And of course that wasn't what most people were experiencing when they were meditating. So then the Akashic Records started to come into my awareness. I looked into what they were and I thought, oh, this is this realm that I've been communicating with. And from there it was just a very natural progression of, and with the, with the confirmation from the records themselves, okay, well, now it's time to read for other people. Now it's time to move into clearings. Now it's time to teach. And, my business has evolved along those lines in conjunction with the Akashic Records, because you have business Akashic Records as well. So I didn't set out to be an Akashic Records teacher. My background was in corporate finance. So this is a completely different world than the world that I came from professionally. But I allowed it to evolve as it was going to, and as it is going to, and it's still evolving to this day. My practice changes, my business changes, but it's always done in conjunction with the Akashic Records themselves. And my question to them every day is, how do you want to work through me today? How can you use me today? And it's an exciting journey, but it certainly wasn't. I didn't go out looking for them. They definitely found me.
Yeah, I love that. I love when I think it was actually today I was recording some videos on TikTok and I was just like, somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, this was a sign I was needing." And I was like, "Okay, now what are you going to do about it?" Like if something is coming into your awareness, how many times is it going to take for it to show up in various different ways before you actually follow it? So I love that. Did you find that you were just like, "Okay, this makes sense," or did you find that there was like some resistance around it?
I've always maintained a very healthy level of skepticism with everything that I do. And I've had many a conversation with the Akashic Records where I say, really though, is it like that? And it's not a bad thing and it's not a bad way to be, because I think, we have to always keep our common sense. There's too much on the spiritual within the spiritual community of just, escapism, let's forget common sense, and that's completely okay. Everyone goes through a phase of that on the spiritual journey, but true spiritual development really happens when you commit, you're dedicated, you have patience, and you actually take the time, but you don't leave your common sense at the door. If you're connecting into a new energy, for example, you will question that energy and you'll tune into yourself for that resonance and that discernment. It's not a case of, oh, well, this is all just exciting and I'll just connect to anything, because, there are energies out there who are not particularly helpful. And so I think I kept a healthy level of skepticism, but I also kept very open. So it was a good balance of, okay, we'll see, how this goes, but I'm still reserving judgment. And, I will, you know, constantly when I'm especially in the collective records, I will, ask questions, ask them to clarify things. I'm never kind of scared of, oh, they're going to kick me out because I'm asking a stupid question or anything like that. And I've always been that way. I was the annoying kid at school who, would put their hand up at the end of class when everyone just wanted to leave because I had more questions. So I see myself as a little bit of an Akashic Records explorer and investigator, always going in and, trying to get things that are going to be helpful to people, and information that's helpful to people on the journey, because it can be quite lonely. Lots of people who go through awakening are the only person perhaps in their immediate orbit who are either going through it or have been through an awakening, so it can be lonely and it can be really confusing. I had my spiritual awakening before social media was what it was, and sometimes I think, oh, it would have been great to have had social media to have, a support and understanding that people have now. But I also think it was a blessing and a curse, because I think it's the blessing side of it is I wasn't able to get all these different opinions and perspectives kind of bombarded by them, or I was able to take it slowly and gently and, go through the process as I needed to. So yeah.
Transmission complete. I love
it. Honestly, I posted about the throat chakra today because there's so much throat chakra activations going on. So I posted about it before, and my throat has been so dry all day. It's like I have to keep stopping for tea.
You're fine. Yeah, I love this so much. What you said, there's so much like here. What you said about being dedicated and patient. And I even love the word like devotion. It's like devotion to your craft and patience. And we know that time and space isn't like it's an illusion, like it doesn't even exist. And when we think about it, it's like, wait, what? Just like we were talking about at the beginning. And then also in the same breath, and in some aspects, it's like, oh my gosh, is this ever gonna come through? And it's just so wild. I remember like and also like kind of circling to the question everything, it's like grounded spiritual approach. It's like remembering, yes, you're a high vibrating soul and you're having a human experience. Let them coexist and ask questions and dig deeper and be like, wait, because I remember when you told me that I was going to bring a new style of Reiki out into this world, I was like, the amount of times I've gone back and listened to our conversation is astronomical. And I still have the journal when I wrote down that first key, which is actually the second key of the 13. And I'm like, what? Like this is the key. And I'm like, and then, the blessing and the curse of how resourced we are. I'm like on Google looking at millions of other different keys that are out there. And I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't seem so crazy now. And it's one of those things. It's like continue to ask questions and be aware and see what happens.
And I think, the patience is a really key part, because, with something like the Akashic Records or bringing new modalities through, it takes time, it takes patience. You're constantly learning and developing, exploring, as I would say, with the Akashic Records. And, we're a world full of people who are quick fixes. And there's nothing wrong with that. We as humans love a quick fix. Do you want to go to the gym, work out, eat healthily, do that for 6 months? Or do you want to, take some medication? We see as in humanity, people want to take some medication for the quick fix. So it's the same in the spiritual side, but the spiritual development and the spiritual journey has never been a quick fix. Your soul goes through its evolution and development over lifetimes. That's what the Akashic Record shows us. And it's, even if you get 100 years here on planet Earth in this body, this is a very short amount of time in respect of what the soul's journey is and the soul's evolutionary process. So I think we have to be a lot kinder to ourselves, rather than expecting everything to happen right now and we know it all right now, and enjoy the journey, because that's what the soul is here. The soul wants the journey. The soul wants the process. The soul wants the lessons. It wants to have a human experience. And on that, I'd also like to reiterate the fact that you as a soul exist in multiple dimensions all the time anyway. Your soul wanted to come into this human incarnation, so enjoy it. Eat the good food, travel to the places that you want to travel to, read the good books, watch the silly movies. It's not, the spiritual journey is not about escaping the human body. It's about being embodied but being embodied from a higher spiritual perspective, knowing that you are part of oneness and that you are also an individualized fractal, and that's okay. It's holding paradoxes and being okay with those paradoxes. But I see a lot of people trying to avoid the human life. Oh, I'm not going to eat the cake because it's low vibrational, or I'm not, I don't want to have a lie-in because I need to get up at 3 a.m. and do my extremely complicated spiritual practice. And it doesn't have to be that way. Your soul came here to be a human, be in the human experience, but do it from the perspective of the higher conscious.
Yeah. I love that. I love that we have like very, very similar viewpoints. We just say it differently. This is so good. So for those of you that follow me, you have to like comment and tell me like what you're noticing that Suzi is saying that you've also heard me say too, because it's very fascinating. Because yeah, just because someone considers something low vibration, if it's, we're not talking about like addictions and things like that, but it's like, okay, but that feels like it would give me energy right now. So let me go do it. Let me be in the moment. Let me face to the sun. Or, I know I have clients that are like, no, give me the storm and the clouds. And they're like, they love that essence. I'm like, yes, like we all get to experience it in that way. And it's that coming back to remembering, like, I remember one of my clients once said, she's like, I saw it as like, I don't know if she pushed the button and she like climbed on this like rainbow slide and she like slid down into planet Earth into her body. But I was like, that is such a cute way of looking at it. But it's like, yeah, your soul was like, "Ooh, we're going to this thing and we're going to do the things, whatever that looks like."
Exactly, because
So,
from the soul's perspective, the opportunities that Earth has are amazing. Like this density is amazing from a learning opportunity perspective. In higher consciousness, you don't get to put your feet on soil. You don't get to swim in the ocean. You don't get to smell the beautiful flowers that planet Earth has. So, from the soul's perspective, this is a great opportunity. It's just because of the density and because of the chaos and the confusion that arises when we're going through, an ascension, an expansion process, it
yeah.
feels really hard. But we have to give ourselves a lot of grace and compassion and kindness and go, okay, it is feeling hard, but what can I do today that really lights me up? What can I do today
Mhm.
that I enjoy? What can I do rather than getting bogged down with the noise and the chaos and the confusion? And I'm not saying for 1 second don't pay attention to what's going on around and live in a bubble. What I'm saying is we have to take care of ourselves on this journey. Your physical body is your vehicle for this particular incarnation. So look after it. Does it need to move? Does it need to stretch? Does it need to rest? What does the body need from you? Look after your mental health, look after your emotional health, and try to enjoy the bits of the journey that you can enjoy. And when the tough bits come, that's okay too. That's part of the process. That's part of the learning.
Yeah. I love this. I think I've said that sentence like 500 times now. One of my friends that I actually met in a retreat in Tulum in January, she does like dating through I don't know exactly how she words it, but it's like dating through feminine magnetism, but it's more about the woman and it's more about taking care of your own energy and being the magnet. And, the conversation that we had the other day was she's like, what do you feel like doing? And go like as soon as you're getting that cue, go do it. Like stop questioning. And it was such a beautiful conversation. And even like last Friday, for example, I was like, ping pong, ping pong. My brain was everywhere. And I was like, I can't even be bothered. We're going somewhere else. We're just like not even going to work today because it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially for women,
Mhm.
okay, we've spent many, many, many years avoiding our bodies, ignoring our bodies, disliking our bodies, trying to, make them smaller, make them the way that, society says that we should. And women, from a spiritual and a psychic and intuitive development perspective, the body is a massive tool that we
Mhm.
have. You know, the psychic organ of the womb is a huge tool that we have, the energetic womb. But if you're disconnected from your body, if you are disliking your body, if you're ignoring your body, then how are you going to hear that internal navigation system? You have this internal technology that is amazing and will help to point you in the right direction and help give you all of this guidance. But if you've spent 10, 20, 30 years of your life not paying attention to it, it takes a lot to rewire and go, oh, okay, now I'm going to listen to what my body's saying, you know?
Yeah.
But for women, this embodiment on the spiritual journey is absolutely crucial just because of the way that we work from a female body perspective in respect of spiritual development.
Yeah. There's such a repatterning that gets to happen that it's like, we meet that resistance and it's giving ourselves in the human side of things to be like, well, no, actually, I know this is different than what I'm doing, but let me go do it anyway and show that, hey, this is actually fun, this is what I needed, and looking for that proof too.
Yeah. And understanding that doing something just because it's fun is completely okay. We just have productive.
Yeah.
We all allow downtime, remember how programmed and conditioned we are, understand that and be okay with that, and then work to deprogram and decondition.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. So good. Okay. So, what has surprised you the most? Or actually, this question wants to come through is what's something when you went into the Akashic records that it was actually really either shocking or surprising to you that you're like, really?
Shocking or surprising? I don't think I've ever been shocked or surprised purely because I try to have a very open mind and I try to believe nothing. Okay.
Oh.
So there's a beautiful saying, and I think it was Sadhguru who said it. It's definitely a yoga teacher who said it and said, the minute that you hold on to a fixed belief, it's going to constrict you from an expansion perspective. So I try to leave as many beliefs as possible whilst also still operating in this reality. So I don't think anything that's come through has been massively shocking. Fascinating, I think. There's been a lot that's been fascinating. And when I've been doing my workshops that I do in my membership, and we go to, I do a deep dive.
Oh, we lost you. Oh, there you go. You're back.
When I do the workshops for the membership and I do deeper dives into things, I did one on Atlantis and Lemuria. That was fascinating to research in the Akashic records. I did a series on the astral realm, which I had told my members would be 2 parts, and it ended up being 5 parts. But again, that was fascinating to investigate. So I think fascinating rather than shock, but those going into the collective records and understanding the journey that we've been on and that we are on and that we will be on as humanity, and then trying to really feel into, okay, well, how can I help in this process? Where's my which cog am I in this wheel, and how can I help this process unfold and help other people to remember themselves?
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, just immediately, yes. It's like when we're living out our soul missions and we're embodied in our own work, when we're embodied in alignment and taking care of ourselves, it's giving other people too permission to do the same, continuing to show up in our power and sharing our message and helping other people like rise as well. And it's just, oh, so good. And it's just like, it's almost like, I don't know why I'm getting this vision. It's like superhero women. Like I'm seeing like Wonder Woman and like like crown people, like women wearing crowns, and it's like yes, let's go, we're rising.
Well, a lot of it energetically has to happen because we've had a lot of male dominant spiritual teachings, and a lot of the way the Akashic record showed me was that a lot of the mystery schools that were around, that were predominantly female mystery schools, they had male mystery schools and female mystery schools, just to account for the fact that from a spiritual development perspective, it happens differently for men, people in male bodies and people in female bodies. That's just how it works energetically. And what they told me was that a lot of the wisdom from the female mystery school specifically was lost during the persecution of women as witches. You know, a lot of the witch trials, a lot of the witch wisdom essentially went underground. But it didn't go underground, it went into the body. What's happening now as we expand in consciousness is that we're coming back into an incarnation in a female body. Lots of people who've got this witch wounding, when they start to unpick things, they also start to unlock that wisdom that is carried forward with them from those mystery schools and those ancient traditions.
Yep. I love it. That's actually one of my favorite topics to help healers on, because I think it's becoming less taboo, so to speak. But I think more and more people are waking up and realizing, I think I carry this. Okay, now what is there to do about it? And so it's really empowering to liberate, not just from the human perspective, but from the soul perspective too.
Oh yeah, very much so, because anything that you don't deal with in one lifetime, that any wounding that you haven't dealt with from one lifetime, you're taking it with you to the next,
Yeah.
So if you haven't had the opportunity in a lifetime to deal with the shame, perhaps the fear, perhaps that you've experienced when you've been in a lifetime where you have been persecuted, and it comes back up in this lifetime. And I think a lot of it is happening now, because once you release that shame, once you release that fear, and you get that energetic stagnation out of the way, then the gifts and skills can come through. Then the intuition can really come online. But it's like we have to deal with that first before we're able to step into that power.
Yes. I'm like, louder to the people in the back.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one because, lots of people will have this like absolutely, completely disabling fear of showing up and, coming out of the spiritual closet or trusting their intuition. And it literally puts them into dysregulation. It puts them into fight or flight. And, but then when they can understand this is where it comes from, and this is how you can work through it, it can change their life in so many ways. I think, it's one of those things that we need to talk about. We need to talk about what happened, but not from a perspective of, raking over old coals and going through all that. Okay, that happened, but now how do we release it? How do we transmute that to kind of put that chapter to bed and then step into our power?
Yeah.
Because that's what's needed at this time. The world needs a good balance of masculine and feminine energy. And I'm not talking about gender, I'm talking about the energy. For Earth and the human society to be healthy, it needs to be in balance. And we're not in balance yet. We will get more in balance the more people in female bodies wake up, deal with that crippling anxiety around showing up, deal with all the different ways that they're hiding themselves, and step into their own power.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it's 100% yes. It's always like, when women come to me and they're like, I want to activate and amplify my spiritual gifts and my soul codes. And I'm like, okay, great, let's go. And then we start with fear, guilt, shame, resentment, good girl energy, imposter syndrome. And they're like, wait a second, what? And then all of a sudden their abilities come on, and then they're receiving their soul codes. And I'm like, it's not a coincidence, because when you release those low frequencies, you just open up for capacity, and you're closer home to you at that soul level. You're not carrying it away. And you can tell me if this is something that you believe or know as well. But what I believe is that, any work that we do in this lifetime is clearing across the lines of time. It's like you're not separate from your soul, you're one with your soul. So it's not like, of course we tap into the records and do the healing in the records, which I would love for you to share more about. And of course we can do all these things. And also we know that we have the power and the ways in which we do heal those is soul healing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And when you work with the records, you're going outside of time. So they're fifth dimension, four times the fourth dimension. So you're going outside time, and any work that you're doing, you do the work in the light grid when it comes to healing and clearing in the Akashic records. And when you work on your light grid, that affects the light grid itself. So it's not through the physical form that you're in this lifetime. It's the compilation of all seven of your energy bodies. That has a knock-on effect to past life you, future life you, because they're actually all happening now. And not only that, but if you have ancestral stuff, you're able to feel the ancestral line backwards and forwards as well. You're able to release things across those timelines. And it can be a bit much for our human brain to understand because we like linear, we like past, present, and future. But it is absolutely work that can be done. And just like our traumas, our wounds, our ancestral stuff that we carry forward into lifetimes throughout our multiple incarnations, we also have gifts and skills that we carry forward. But it has to always be, let's get rid of the junk first, the stuff that's muddying the waters, that's, causing that energetic stagnation. And when you do that, that's when everything can come online. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. I'm sure you would agree when you see clients who will come to you and they will have all of these experiences, they've got all of this stuff going on and they let it go to see them blossom into who they were always meant to be.
Yes. Yeah, it's so cool because it's like once the veil drops, once those fears, limiting beliefs, the good girl energy, imposter stuff, like all of it, once it drops, they're revealed. And yeah, they're more confident, they're more in their essence. And, with the work that we do, it's like they're more in their power, they're confident with their abilities. So they're like writing books and creating offers and changing the world. And it's like, this is so cool.
Yeah. I always say I have like the best job in the world because it's so fun to see people get to their next level of expansion. Not what anyone tells them to be, not what I tell them to be, but just help and support them on their way to that. Because to see someone who lives in alignment is the best thing, especially if you've known them when we were out of alignment and you've been into that alignment. And then you see all the amazing things that they do, and then they go on to help other people. And it's just that domino.
Yeah. I call it the butterfly effect, where it's like the single flap of a butterfly wing can cause a tsunami on the other side of the planet. And that's the work that we're doing. That's the work that, you're doing, and anybody watching or choosing to heal, like it's literally the butterfly effect.
It is, and it's, it's big work, healing stuff across timelines is big work. If you give yourself, again, grace, compassion, kindness as you're going through it. But every little piece that you heal, every little bit of energetic stagnation you can let go of is going to help you on your next lifetime, wherever that may be, and on the next lifetime and for the generations. So I think sometimes people will get frustrated because healing is this spiral, and they'll come to an issue and they'll be like, no, I can't possibly need to do any more shadow work. I've been in my shadow. I've delved down there. But it's actually a good thing when you come back around because what's actually happening is you're getting into a deeper level of the wounding. So I don't want everyone ever to get frustrated and think, oh, but I've already done that. I've done that work. And why is it coming up again? It's not coming up again because you did anything wrong or you didn't do it right the first time around. It's coming around again because you've done it so well that you're now into a new level of the wounding. It's that never-ending onion that we have.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny we're having this conversation because I'm literally having some of these same conversations with my community and my healers as well. I love this alignment so much. And even this happened, even just I think Sunday for me, when I started talking about my certification program, I was like, all of the sudden I started bawling and I was like, what is this fear? I didn't even know this was here. And I was like, okay, great. And it's always so much, not every time I would say, but I would say it gets easier to alchemize because you're more aware and you have the tools.
Exactly. The first time you ever confront an issue, it seems to be the biggest, scariest issue that's ever existed. You'll never get through it. There's nothing that can possibly help you. The fifth time you come around, you're like, oh, hello again.
Yeah.
Let's deal with it. It just becomes a much easier process to get through. And I just want anyone who's sat there and maybe I'll go through it and they're dealing with an issue and I think they're never going to get to the other side. You absolutely will. But have that kindness and that compassion throughout, because if you're ever pushing yourself, you ever think you're behind schedule, that's all just the ego. Like the soul is never in a hurry. The soul is quite happy going along its little evolutionary journey as best as it can.
Yeah, I love that. So talk to us about what healing in the records is and what that looks like too. Because when you did that for me, I was like,
so what we do with, I always say Akashic Records clearing, which is kind of its official title, because it's clearing out the light grid. Okay. And what we do in a clearing process is it's great for when you feel stuck. Okay. So when you think to yourself, okay, well, I've done everything I can do. I've dealt with every inner child issue, but my root chakra, there's still something else there. Okay. So when you want to start to get into energetic stagnation from past life, energetic stagnation from ancestral issues, karmic cords, things like that, when you're coming through the levels of the spiral, you've done with the stuff, that's when it can be very, very effective. It can be very effective anytime, but I always think it's great. The kind of key phrase when I'm teaching people is if your client comes to you and says, I've done this stuff, I feel stuck, clearing. And then ready for it. It's kind of telltale sign. And the process is we have 7 energy bodies. So we are the manifestation of our 7 energy bodies, but we have access to the 7 energy bodies. The 7 energy bodies are what we call the light grid. So we just give it one name rather than going through all of the different bodies. Of course, people who I teach, we go through all of the bodies in detail, but just for general conversation, we just talk about that light grid. And in that light grid is all the energetic stagnation from things like past life trauma, ancestral issues, soul contracts that you have. Lots of different things are in there. And the job in clearing session is we as the practitioner aren't doing the work. And I always give credit to the Akashic Records guides where it's due. They are the ones who are doing the work in conjunction with your higher self. So there's this process that they do where they will essentially push the energetic stagnation through these outer layers of the light grid into you for you then to go through a transmutation period. So I'm sure you'll remember there's a couple of days after clearing where it's quite emotionally up and down, energetically up and down. And our job as practitioners is to investigate the causes of, okay, why is there energetic stagnation there? What's that cause from? And what can this individual do to help them release it? So it's a kind of cooperation that we do with the guides. And I always find that we give ourselves a lot more permission if we understand where some wounding has come up from. So say, for example, you have a lot of angry ancestral energy going on in the root chakra because of stuff that's happened to your ancestors. Once you understand that and you know what's happened, in that next couple of days when you're going through the transmutation process and you get really angry for no reason, you go, oh, hang on, that's just my ancestral anger moving through me. And, clearing is something that I teach people how to do on themselves as well. I cover that at level 1. Because everything that I teach practitioner level, I also teach how to do for yourselves, because as I said at the start, I'm all for people having the tools and being able to do this stuff for themselves. It's always nice to go and have it done with somebody else as well, but I want everyone to be able to do these things for themselves as well, because that empowers them as well to go, oh, I was able to help release my own ancestral wounding, help people remember their power and their ability.
Ah, ah, that is so amazing. And I love that you're like, well, actually, it's not me. We got to give credit where credit is due. And that's really cool. And yes, I remember those few days afterwards. It's like, it's a lot. It can be a lot.
It can be. And, I always try to pre-warn people. And I always remember I had an individual come to me for a clearing, did the clearing, had the same advice, and made the mistake of doing this in the morning and going into work in the afternoon, and then was crying all afternoon at work and had to go home. And by 4 p.m., they were in bed for a nap, sending me a message going, okay, I didn't realize what you meant by needing a couple of days to rest. And now I do.
Yes. Yeah. There's anytime we're doing that deep healing, I'm just like, nope, we're going to take the rest of the day at minimum, couple days, like typically, because like the energy is moving out. You're healing. And
and it shouldn't be rushed. This work shouldn't be, it's deep work. And, to give yourself that permission and that time. And I think it's always important to give credit where credit's due, because when you're working with, higher vibrational beings, light beings, angels, whatever people want to, refer to these higher energies as, we all have such a huge support network, and they are there to help us through all of this. And, there's nothing wrong with saying this is what's working with us and this is what's helping us, because we're all in this together. I think sometimes people want to say, well, it's only me who can do this and I'm the only one with this connection, and that's just spiritual going.
yeah.
Interdimensionals, if you're working with angels, whatever you're working with, give them the credit as well, because they're helping us through this evolution process. What I've found with beings from, higher dimensions is they have so much respect for souls that choose to come into a human incarnation. They are like, we will help because, like, you're going to go through it. Like, you're going to that place, Earth school, which is really dense and really hard work. And they want to support you. So I just think it's, out of respect, I think it's always good to, reiterate that fact. And I think for people who experience that process, it's a good reminder to them that this is their guides and their higher self. This is all something that they are in control of and that they can do. Because sometimes they say, well, this clearing erasing your Akashic records. And of course it's not. What it's doing is it's moving the energetic expectation. The information is still there, but the wounding isn't there. So you'd still know, for example, with witch wounding, you'd still know about the lifetime or times that you've experienced that level of persecution, but you wouldn't be carrying that fear or the guilt or the shame or everything that you've got with it. It would just be away.
So good. I love that there's so much power and so many different ways that we can heal. And like, just kind of circling back, like I really wanted to reconnect with you because I was like, I have to tell her this now. Like, because we really we really haven't talked a whole lot, but it's like that day that you did the Akashic records, and like this can be an absolute testimonial to like your gift that you are utilizing. I was shook. I remember sitting there with my journal afterwards, and I'm like, there was a few things that stood out that day, but like that you're going to bring a new style of Reiki into this world. And I was like, okay, but no. Okay, but I'm just a military wife. I'm a boy mom. I grew up in Southwest Iowa. I'm like, there's nothing special about me. And, that's the human side. And I was like, okay, but what is this going to look like? And then the keys started trickling in, and I thought they were going to come in through meditation, but that's actually not how they started coming. Well, that's how they started coming in, but it's not how the rest of it came through. And it took a full tower moment in my business for the rest of it to flood in. And at the time that it happened, I didn't have all of Quantum Illumination channeled yet. And I knew it wasn't time yet. But I knew that even though that was a traumatic period of everything that had happened, I knew there was something on the other side of it. And I knew I had to do the healing. So, lean into healers, doing the things, hiring coaches or whatever. And the rest of it flooded in and it blew my mind. And I remember something that came through in the from the records as well was like, you cannot call it this or this where the origination is. That's not what they want you to call it. And I'm like, so what am I supposed to call it? But since then, like we've got the trademark filed just out of protection, human protection of the brand. We've got copyright for the manual going in. We're getting ready to teach the first round next month. And that was June of 2021.
Mm-hmm. And it's
almost 4 years.
Not uncommon for it.
Your mic is a little bit quiet. A little bit.
It might be dying.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have a session, have all of this information, and it can take months or years to integrate the information. This isn't Akashic readings on, in 6 months' time, this is going to happen. It's big stuff that you're getting through, and it can take time for it to land. It can take time for it to marinate, but the bits that you need to remember will always come back around, and it always is a process of integration after a session where you have to, take the information, sit with it, and go through a process with it. It's not a kind of something you'd have done every week at all. You don't need to. And that's, again, why I like to teach it, because people will come to me for a reading, they'll get the information, and then they can pop in their own records and just check up on things and see how things are going. It's a beautiful modality. And I just recommend anybody who's anybody in this world, if they have the desire to learn how to do it, because you don't have to be spiritually elite or, a specific type of person or meditate 5 hours a day or live in a cave on a hill. Everybody can do it. And I just think if everybody can do it, we have access to a resource that can help us on this spiritual journey and through this human life. Why not? Why wouldn't you use it? Doesn't mean you don't use any other modality. It just means that you have this one that you can use as well. And it can be very helpful and very illuminating. In a way that's expansive and in a way that's aligned to you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I love what you said about you don't have to be spiritually elite, and everything you said after that. I'm like, yes. I'm like, we don't need to sit around like Buddha and meditate 100 hours a day and do all these things. We can literally integrate this into our day-to-day life. It gets to be that simple. So yeah.
It does. And, this is not the time for most souls. This is not a time of renunciation. Most people who are spiritual and incarnated at this time have already had lifetimes where they've done full renunciation and they've, said goodbye to the human world and lived, a monastic life. But if you're here and you're, a mom or a dad and you've got a job and you've got kids and you're in the real world, this is your spiritual journey. This real life is your spiritual journey. It doesn't have to be, okay, well, I'll go up and I'll be spiritual for half an hour and then I'll go back into my real life and be a normal human. It's all supposed to be integrated.
Yes.
In a way, renunciating and being in a monastic lifestyle would be far easier for some people from a spiritual. So it's how do you now open up? How do you keep your heart open? How do you allow these gifts to come online whilst also remembering to make a dentist appointment? and biofuel. And, you know, cleaning out the bins. How do you bring it all together? And that is the journey for a lot of people at this time.
Yeah, that's so funny. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. See? Oh my gosh. So this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for your time. And good. I'm so glad. And I will make sure everybody has all the information on where to find you in the show notes and the comment or the caption as well. But is there anything else that you're feeling called to share? And then also anything that you're like, you feel like you want to promote? Mike's yours.
I think I'll always promote my level 1 class, because that's the one where everyone should come and learn how to go into your own Akashic records. I'm teaching at the moment. So there is a class on at the moment. We just did part 2 last night, but there's still 4 classes to go. So if you want to come along to that, drop me a message and we can get that organized. You can always join late and just catch up on a couple of classes on the recording. That one is always the one because that's for everybody. Level 2 and level 3, you have to feel a calling to become an Akashic practitioner. Level 1's for everybody. I also have this year coming up some deepening your own practice modules, and the first one's going to be about money and money block. So that's going to be a deepening of your own Akashic practice. That's going to be coming up very soon. I'll be launching it in the next couple of weeks. On what I want to share, I want to remind everybody that you have everything you need within you. Okay? People like me, we're just here to help you remember, help point you in the right direction, help guide you, help share our own experiences. But don't ever give your power away. This is not the time of sitting at the feet of a guru. This is the time of remembering your own power and helping other people to do the same.
Yeah, I love that. Coming home to you. So
Loving you and loving all parts of you, even the ego when it wants to pop in, even the angry part of you. Love it all, because this human experience is an amazing opportunity from a development of the soul perspective. So cherish it, enjoy it, and just allow yourself to have the best time that you can have in this time.
so good. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's getting super late for you, and I just appreciate and I adore you so much. You guys go give her a follow, check out her links and all the things. I'll put them in the show notes and all the places. And yeah, and I'm excited to connect with you hopefully soon.
Yes, you will. I'll do, my love. And thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.